Hi, I am so sorry that I am late about for this video. I know nobody's watching. Oh, it says that y'all are here, but anyway, just gonna make sure y'all can hear me. Um, I am so thankful for y'all being here and already commenting and talking about stuff among yourselves. I'm so thankful for that. I was in an interview about my new book, and so that's why I'm late. It went a little bit late, but it was such a fun video. Okay, a couple of things before we get going on things. I want to make sure you know, y'all, 2 weeks from today, I won't have that on there. 2 weeks from today, my new book will come out. So we would love, we being me and my husband, I guess, would love for you to pre-order. I'm not sure why this is gray and not pink right now, but we'd love for you to pre-order and grab some pre-order bonuses. So if you go to aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus, it's going to give you links of places to pre-order, but also just know you can pre-order it anywhere. You can also request it from your library, and that will count. You'll just have to send my assistant an email to get the special code that will allow you to get the bonuses. But those bonuses are a 5-day Bible study, a preview of the book. Okay, so like a sample of the book. I think it's 2 chapters. I'm not for sure. And after the book comes out, those who pre-ordered will be invited to some private Q&As. I'm going to do 6 private Q&As. Okay, there's going to be 3 different categories, and each of those will have 2 different times. You can hopefully make one for people's privacy's sake. I'm not going to be recording those, but they will be divided into 3 different groups. So you'll get to pick which one you want to be. I'm all in, like this is it, this subject matter, I'm all in on it. And then another one will be I've got questions. I'm not sure how I feel about this subject matter. And then one where it's like, no, I'm out, but also we're friends, and so I read your book and blah, blah, blah. So I just want to make sure that we can really dive in deep from wherever you are, because I would love to talk to all of you about it. And I know that this is one of those subjects that people are in very different places about it. So again, my book is Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House. It is the spiritual side of this. We're talking about the shame factor and how the removal of shame is the thing that I think made one of the biggest differences for me in being able to move forward in my home. So again, yeah. And then another thing, okay, that I'll talk about more as we go on. My decluttering coaches, I don't know why that's gray and not pink. What happened? Anyway, my decluttering coaches are offering live classes, live 6-week classes. They're at all different times, and you can join those. What is the benefit of this? You're going to be going through Decluttering at the Speed of Life, as that's the textbook, right, for the concepts, but they will be teaching the concepts very much like what I teach, but in a live class setting. So you'll benefit from class discussions and from a small group setting where you get to actually ask questions of the coach who's leading the class. Okay, so at declutteringcoaches.com/class, you can go, and that's also linked in the description of this video. Go and check out the classes and see if there's one that's at a great time for you. I love my coaches. If you're not able to do a class, just remember, I've got decluttering coaches who can walk you through the no mess decluttering process the same way that I do in my sessions that show as 1 Hour Betters on the channel. They do that all the time with people. And I mean, the stories that I hear of people like legitimately just changing their homes, it's so powerful. I started training and certifying coaches because I teach all the things. If you want to implement these things in your home, I have put it all out there, right? Like you can absolutely do it yourself. But a lot of times people need someone to come alongside them, and either they're in person or virtually talk them through the steps on their stuff. So it's really powerful to use a coach. So anyway, declutteringcoaches.com/class, in person, not, I think they're actually all on Zoom, but real-time live classes where you can have class discussions and where you can ask questions of your instructor. Okay, let me take some questions from here. Because I got here so late, I don't have any questions prepared ahead of time. So that means I'm only taking from those of you who are live. If you ever want to ask one to be answered on a future one, askdanakwhite.com is where you need to go for that. Okay, let's see. Questions. I don't know what y'all are talking about, but Dana always says to start with trash is exactly right. Yay, Sarah. Let's see. Easy stuff decluttered. How do we make decisions on the sentimental items passed down from loved ones? Yeah, so sentimental stuff is the hardest, of course. Just a couple overall mindset shifts that I made were, can I keep one? If it's a category of items, like let's say it's my grandmother's fine china, or it is, the school papers of my grandfather or whatever, things like that. Giving myself permission to keep one because one has all the memories attached and does not take up much space, right? So that mindset shift is really powerful. But I actually don't change my process for sentimental items. It works exceptionally well, even for sentimental items. And so my process is, okay, your easy stuff has already been decluttered, right? Even if something is highly sentimental, I'm looking around to see what could be highly sentimental. I've got my apple cider cup. Anyway, even if this is a highly sentimental insulated mug, right? Just an example. It feels like, well, I've got to have a different method for dealing with this than I would something that wasn't sentimental, right? But instead I do the same thing. If I needed this, let's say that this is a teacup that my grandmother carried on a ship across the ocean when she was 14 and okay, yeah. If I needed a teacup like that, where would I look for it first? If I needed this teacup that is highly sentimental to me, where would I look first for this teacup that is highly sentimental to me, right? And then I go with that and I take it to that place because if it's highly sentimental to me, it deserves space. I personally came to the point where I realized I don't want my highly sentimental items to be in a box somewhere. If they are highly sentimental to me, if they're important to me, I want them to have a place. Somebody asked me about my little bulldog over here a couple weeks ago. That's highly sentimental to me. I got it when I was in Hong Kong, when I was, I don't know, 20, something like that. I love that thing, right? Because I love it, I want it out. Because you love that teacup, you want it out. If it is a letter written, blah, 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 whatever, like, where would you look for it first? And then if it is important to you, it deserves space in there. And when you look at it that way, it's rarely like, oh no, how do I give space to this teacup? Instead, it becomes an issue where I'm like, well, I would look first. Let's say you're not going to display it, but you would look first for it in that cabinet in the living room. Okay. That's where I would look first for it. Even if you're not going to display it. Okay. I go there and I go to put it away and I see that there are a bunch of, games or something in this thing. Well, now I look and I go, this is important to me. This, and this game that before I might have been like, well, games are good. And that's where games go, blah, blah. It's like, no, I need space for this item that is highly sentimental to me. And this is where I would look for it first. Okay. You know what? Now that I look at it that way, these 3 games can go. So it's that, where would I look for it first and give it space? If it is highly sentimental, it deserves space. Now, the other thing that happens is sometimes you're like, oh, this is highly sentimental. And then you go and you realize, I'm actually not willing to get rid of these meh things in order for this. I was thinking it was sentimental and it's actually not as sentimental as I was thinking. So go through the same process and it works for that too. Let's see. If you have already asked a question, maybe ask it again with question marks at the front so that I can try to make sure I see it. What about when you have a project that needs to be done, like painting an entire room? Do you do the dishes as usual, along with other routines, and then do the project? Yes. I mean, do whatever you want to do, but as far as what my advice is, yes. And I say this because I totally understand what you're thinking. You're like, no, no, this is project time. This is not dishes time. This is project time. But the reality is, for me, and it's just facts, so it's for everybody, if I ignore the dishes, which my tendency is to not realize how many days I've been ignoring the dishes while I've been working on the painting project that maybe I painted one day and then 5 days went by, but I was still thinking of myself as focusing on that project and blah, blah. So keeping the dishes done is a 15 to 20 minute job every day, right? And so working on getting the dishes done is so worth that 15 minutes, because otherwise I tend to just let them go and build and get completely out of control again. Also, I work on this project, and even though the project is done, I'm like, oh, that looks nice, but my house is a wreck. And then I regret, or I'm not able to enjoy the things that I've done on that project. So yes, I would do that. Let's see. Let's see. You guys have such great conversations. Oh, yay. Thank you. Love Me Clutter-Free Coaching says that, yes, the sample of the book is the first 2 chapters. Thank you. Let's see. How did you cope with the shame that is before you realized that God doesn't care about your messy house? I mean, so the reality is that I wasn't coping well with the shame. I mean, that's what sent me into the desperation of starting this anonymous slob blog to get my house under control, right? So, but the thing is, as far as you, like what advice I would give, I will say that doing the dishes, is today going to be a dishes day where we talk about dishes the whole time? Doing the dishes every day, which is how I started, right? Like I was ashamed that that's where I needed to start. Like I was like, this is how far gone I am. I was literally trying to think of the smallest possible thing I could focus on because I was so sure I was going to fail again at this. And so I started with the dishes. I was like, this is the smallest, most basic thing. But when I did that, it changed my outlook, because I was like, the dishes, first of all, they become a lot simpler the more often that I did them, but also they had a huge impact. Like the reality of like this small thing that I do has a hugely motivating impact. So I have a video called How to Get Motivated to Declutter. But it's the same concept. It's do the tiniest thing you can do all the way. Like that is the best antidote to the despair that you feel, right? And that's the best way to get motivated. So change your goal to better, and say, I'm just going to do something to make this space better. It is impossible to fail at better if you do anything at all, right? And so do something, throw away one thing, and acknowledge that you have accomplished the goal of better. And that accomplishment is going to take you far. Okay. Let's see. Mom wants to declutter, but seems to want to finish projects more. I tried to repeat 5 steps, explain container concept. Should I just say, okay, let's leave this stuff on the floor, pick a project? It sounds like you mean finish decluttering projects more. I don't know. Here's what I would not do. I would avoid explaining the whole process first, which I mean, you've already done, right? But like when you go in, instead of saying, this is how it's going to work, because you see it, like you see the overall picture and you're like, wow, this simple 5-step process is going to take you all the way through to the end. But instead to say, okay, for right now, in whatever space she wants to start in, I know you're like, no, the visibility is so important, whatever. Just say whatever space she wants to start in. Okay, let's start with the trash. Instead of explaining this is the first step out of 5 and all the things that I say, just say, let's start with trash. And when she doesn't see something is trash that you're like, I can't believe she doesn't think that's trash, don't worry about it, right? Because it's going to go. And then, okay, so, all right, so you don't see any more trash. All right, let's, anything in here that we already know what to do with, let's do that thing and I'll help you do that thing, right? And then go through the steps, but without explaining the whole thing. And you don't even have to explain the container concept if you're helping her. At the end, it's a matter, the 5th step is implementing the container concept. The first part of that is to put like items together, right? So without pulling everything out, let's put this item here. You can help her with that. Like, okay, we're putting these category of books together and this category of whatever. Go through that process and then, oh, it's still too much. Okay, well, what's your least favorite? So just kind of go through it without explaining the whole process. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Whiskey Bear says, I'm so glad you narrate your own books. It doesn't feel right when someone else narrates a self-help book. Tell Cass it's time to start narrating hers. Here's the thing. I mean, like, y'all, I've heard horror stories, and I will just tell you, I had to audition to read my own books. Like it's a real source of frustration among authors, right? And so it is not because Cass didn't want to. I remember talking to her and her just saying that like it already existed and they hadn't had that conversation or whatever, you know. So no, I had to audition to do my own. I had to fight to do my own. And once I did my first one, they were like, oh, okay. And now I here's the thing. I don't have to fight for it anymore, but they still in the contracts and stuff, they always act like it's not a given that I'm going to do it. And I'm like, what? So anyway, any author that you're like, they should have done it themselves. I guarantee you they probably wanted to, and it was probably a frustrating thing for them. What to do when you're renovating a room and now it's done, you're putting it back together. How do you handle where would I look for it first? Yeah, I think that that's actually the best time of all, right? Like you're putting it back together. Where would I look for it first is the best way. Remember that I use this method, even if I'm like, when I moved into my new house and we'd never done anything here before, I never had looked for anything in this house before. I would ask myself, if I was looking for this book, where would I look for it first? And I'd be like, there. Because here's the thing, before, when I didn't have this method and I would just like be putting things in places as I unpacked, what was I doing when I was looking for something? Going, I don't know where this thing is. Okay, I'll look here first. Like instead, we're just kind of cutting out the chaos step. Yeah. I've decluttered or sold almost all our possessions for an upcoming cross-country move. Wow, that's a lot of work. Now I'm impulse buying again because of scarcity mindset of having such little possessions. Help. What I would really do is focus on doing the thing that you decluttered in order to do, right? Like, what is it that you were decluttering because you wanted to make the move easier? So be working on the move, like if you're getting packed up or whatever it is that you're doing. So I don't know what the time frame is here, right? But I always say, like, if you're kind of in that moment of like, oh, this is focus in on the thing that you were wanting to do. Okay. I received 2 new items and I want to put them in a full bin. All the others are, let's see. All the other sets are wrapped in tissue paper and I can't see what they are. Is there a way to do this without making a mess? Okay, I feel like I'm not reading this correctly. I received 2 new items and I want to put them in a full bin. All the other sets are wrapped in tissue paper and I can't see what they are. Is there a way to do this without making a mess? Yes, it would be to go one item at a time, see what it is and see. But I would also be like, okay, is there any trash in here that I can see without having to unwrap a bunch of stuff? I'm not sure. Also along those same lines, like we were talking about before with sentimental stuff, like I came to this point where I was like, I don't want to have boxes full of things. I want to have give things a home, put it out in my house. You know, if it's sentimental to me, I want it to be out here. And then shifting that mindset made me willing to let go of things that I wasn't willing to put out there. Let's see. I declutter to make space in my closets. The stuff I need to put away is on my table. My husband helped. He didn't put things away. Like he teaches, it's overwhelming to start. One item at a time. One item at a time. Yep. Okay, let's see. I've decluttered so much of my place already, but it's very messy and have a lot left to do. How do I stay motivated to keep going? Okay, so if you've been decluttering and it's staying very messy, really zero in on those 5-minute pickups. This might be a great thing too for the person who said that they had decluttered a lot to be ready to move. But like really zero in on those 5-minute pickups. When you have that, like, I don't know, 5-minute pickups are going to maintain the progress that you had made. Okay. Let's see. Painting the house is such a great time to declutter. It has made me not want to put stuff back following the painting. Do you have any tips for a simple process of painting, though I feel over the place? I mean, I think honestly with that, let it be the motivation, right? Like really go hard on the trash and donations as you're taking things out and as you're putting things back in, because you're like, no, I like this space not having much in it. I pre-ordered your book off Amazon. How do I get the bonuses? Go to, it's in the description of this video, or go just type in aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus. That is, that will have the link for you to go submit your pre-order information and get the bonuses. The bonuses are all digital. They do not come with the book. You only get them by filling out the form that's linked here at aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus. Like, I don't know, because it's a traditionally published book and it gets sold by retailers. I don't know who bought it. Like there's no way for me to know that you pre-ordered unless you go fill out that form right there. Okay. Let's see. After removing the trash, should I try to tidy and organize the boxes, bags, and containers before I dive into the process? No, I wouldn't give that as a step. It's not going to hurt anything for you to like straighten a few things, but no, I mean, like after you remove the trash, the next step is there anything that I can see and access right now that I already know what to do with it, and go take those things and do that thing, right? And then the next step, is there anything that's an obvious donation? It's becoming less as you have less and less stuff. You know, you may be able to get some boxes out of there, get some, you know, straighten some containers, but that doesn't need to be a part of the process. Storage room turned into a crafting room. All crafting supplies in boxes. There are no shelves or drawers to put anything away. Yeah, so what I would do, I'm assuming that you're planning on doing shelves and drawers at some point. What I would do is go through things just to like go through box by box, going through the 5-step process to get rid of things that have no business ever being put on a shelf or in a drawer, right? Because the problem is when you're like, things got stuck in there, all my crafting supplies are in boxes. Well, there's likely in each of those boxes, there's likely trash, easy stuff that belongs somewhere else, and you already do know what to do with it and have a place to put it. Obvious donations, get those out, you know, go through that process as much as you can in the boxes so you actually know what it is before you do put any kind of what you're dealing with, before you do kind of, you know, put any kind of stuff together. I mean, as far as like, you know, new storage systems. Okay. Okay, I think I already answered your question about tidying the space. Let's see. Let's see. Patty from Los Angeles with the chow. We got piles together during the fires. Blessedly, we were spared, but now we have more piles of stuff everywhere, and I'm more overwhelmed than I was. Yeah, go hard on the trash and donations, and especially because you are in a traumatic situation, right? Like you have been through something, and so that is adding on a lot of the emotions. So go hard on the emotion free steps, the first 3 steps, the decision free, emotion free steps, because you've been through so much. And you said there's piles and we're trying to figure it. It's just like, wait, what? And then some of those piles, I'm not sure, were maybe created during the fires, of like, maybe go through them and go hard on just the emotion free stuff, the trash, the easy stuff that you already know what to do with. There's no decisions to be made. Go ahead and do those things as best you can, as much you can. If you hit something that you're just not able to do, skip it, right? And obvious donations, just to diminish the size of those piles, to diminish the overwhelm. Okay. I am doing well at the decluttering and leaving my craft room to the last, as it's impossible to even get in the door. Am I right to do this? Yeah, I think so. If you're doing well at the decluttering, keep on going because you're doing great, right? I always say start with the easy stuff. And I mean that, like, here's the thing. A lot of times people are like, oh, I need to declutter. I need to declutter my craft space, my craft space. Oh no, my craft space. And so you're like, I'm thinking about that. And the tendency is to be like, I need to tackle that hard thing. And I'm like, you can make tons of progress before you ever get to that. So you're doing great. My husband is supposed to be in charge of dishes, but he puts it off and definitely doesn't believe in running the dishwasher nightly. I've tried doing them myself, but he says it is passive aggressive. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, it might be something where you just need to explain, like, hey, I know, please don't take this personally. I just want to do them. I just want to do them. And I always, relationships are interesting and fun and challenging, and maybe it's something you need to work through with some sort of a counselor or whatever, because I get it. I sometimes, when I'm like, no, I was going to do that thing, and then it makes me feel bad, and then I'm whatever. But yeah. Okay. Yes, and this is true. Many authors don't do a good job reading their own books. I don't know about that necessarily, but it's harder than you may think. That is true. Like, that is the reason why it is not a given that authors are going to read their books. But it is frustrating because my issue was, I was like, and I told them this. I said, I have a podcast. And I think when my first book came out, I don't remember how many listeners I had, but it was enough that they wanted those listeners to buy books, right? They cared. And I was like, so just so you know, if somebody else reads my book, every time I mention my book, I am going to say, because this is how I am, I'm going to have to say, but it's not me reading it. And so just know that going in, that it's going to be weird for you because it's going to be some other. So I was like, that, just so you know, that's what I'm going to have to say if you don't let me read my book. And so that might have had something to do with them letting me read my book, because I feel like that's disconcerting. When it's different when you don't know somebody's voice and you're just reading it. But if you've heard this person on YouTube and podcasts, how weird is it to then have it be a different voice reading their words, right? Let's see. Another thing too about the person talking about their husband not wanting to do the feeling like he doesn't want you doing the dishes because that's supposed to be his job. I do think that always going into it's kind of my same advice that my friend Debbie would give about, like, when you try to start doing something differently, but it's not the way your kids remember, or, you've always done it. It's like, I've learned something new and I want to try it, going at it from that perspective is good. For so many years, I had to buy everything secondhand because I couldn't afford anything for my home. Now I can afford better things. How do I let go of my old things that no longer serve me? One in, one out them. Acknowledge the reality of the space, right? Like, just go, I would absolutely love to keep this. It means a lot to me, But the reality is the space I have is the space I have. And if I have more stuff than will fit in that space, my house cannot stay under control. Okay. I want to mention again for those who just got here, starting in February, 11 of my decluttering coaches are going to be offering 6-week live classes. Okay. So they will be teaching my strategies. This is the textbook, right? But they'll be teaching my strategies, and so much of the value is from the fact that it's live. You have class discussions. You get the opportunity to ask for clarification, ask questions of your person who's, your coach who's teaching the class. So go to declutteringcoaches.com/class to find out if there's a class that works for you. They are able, as my certified coaches, they can teach these classes anytime, anywhere, charge whatever they want. But participating in this promotion that I'm pushing y'all out to, it is they have agreed to do this for $50. Okay, so for $50, you get to join this live 6-week class. There's their beautiful faces. Aren't they the cutest? Like, it just makes me giddy every time. So go to declutteringcoaches.com/class and see if there is a class with a coach that works well for you. Okay. How would you categorize unpacking? Is it procrastinator? Any difference from trips versus moving? Yeah, I mean, I think the difference between the trip is full on procrastinator, right? Because it's stuff that had a home, hopefully, right? And then you put it in the suitcase, and now it's just a matter of putting it back in its home after washing it, right? So yeah, that's full on procrastinator. And versus moving is you're giving things homes, asking yourself, where would I look for it first in this new space? Let's see. Let's see. Let me check something real quick. All right. How do we stop using so many dishes? I run the dishwasher 2 times a day, and one side of the sink is always full. It's a new house and new dishwasher, and it doesn't feel like my old one did, family of 4. I mean, one quick way to do that is to assign a cup to different people. There's little things you can put around a cup. I know they've advertised on my podcast years and years and years ago, but basically like those little, different colored wristbands, basically, but they put around a cup. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably one of the best ways to stop using so many dishes. Let's see. Sounds like y'all are not always being very nice in the comments. Make sure you're being nice right now. Y'all are usually the most greatest people. On Amazon, there are 2 workbooks to accompany Decluttering at the Speed of Life and How to Manage. Are these by you, or is it someone just writing off your shirt tail? Those are a huge frustration to me. They are not mine. They are not, I mean, I have reported them to my publisher, and there is like only so much they can do. It's a huge frustration. So please do not buy those. Yeah. The workbooks to accompany these things. No, those are not me. Let's see. Decluttering kitchen and come across hidden areas full of trash and grime. I'm clearing them out, but they are gross and it kind of kills the motivation. Tips on staying motivated in the moment. Yeah, I would say do the bare minimum to just wipe it down real quick as you're going, right? Like have maybe a soapy washcloth where you're like, I'm getting this stuff out and I'm just going to do, because it's so often like, that is a huge mess. Oh no, it's going to take forever. And it's like, if you can just do a quick swipe down, so it's not perfect, but it's going to be so much better. And it might be the thing that helps you keep moving. Let's see. Been trying to declutter down to my clutter threshold. Still, I have too many things. The mess keeps coming back. I wanted to use up things instead of tossing everything out, but it doesn't work. Okay, so the little thing I'm going to zero in on there is I wanted to use up things. You may very well have more stuff than you could really use up, and it's going to do you more good on reaching your clutter threshold to trash or donate. Okay. And go, technically, I could probably use this thing up, but that is going too slow. I need to make faster progress. So if it's something donatable, donate it. If it's something that is not donatable, then trash it. And that will speed that up. Let's see. What if I have a lot of perfectly good, even brand new items that will be used eventually, like towels and washcloths? If I have the space, is it okay to keep? If it's, I kind of like what I just said with the last one. I feel like if it's over your clutter threshold, like if your space is consistently getting out of control, then you need to donate those things, even though you have the space. And yes, we don't ask ourselves, would it be useful, right? Like we just ask, is there space? But you're coming on and asking me, which makes me feel like it's still too much. It may be over your clutter threshold and you need to get rid of it. There's no right or wrong on that kind of stuff, except for, does it fit within the space? And then the next question is my house still getting out of control? Because especially with things like, because you said washcloths and things, towels and washcloths, the problem with that is that the more you have of those kinds of things, the easier it is to put off the maintenance task of laundry. And then therefore it gets out of control, which then causes the whole house to get out of control, right? And so having fewer clothes, fewer towels, fewer washcloths just prevents the issues with laundry. Let's see. I struggle with donating unwanted items that may have monetary value. How do you declutter unwanted jewelry? If it's fine jewelry, there are lots of places that have buyback kind of stuff like that are pretty easily accessible. But I don't have a lot of qualifications for things I would donate. Like I'll see some of these thrift store videos where like, I can't believe someone donated this. And I'm like, I'll donate anything. I mean, that's about not trash, right? But like, as far as like other people might say, oh, you need to sell that. That's worth something. And I'm like, well, the thrift store is doing me a service to take this item. So if they make money off of it, or if somebody buys it and they make money, like yay for them. The value is in it being out of my house and me not having to deal with it anymore. Let's see. I love this. Aaliyah says, I love your coaches. I found my declutter coach through the 6-week program last year. So, yeah, like I love it. That makes me so happy. If you don't know what she's talking about, the link is below. My decluttering coaches are offering a 6-week live class. So it's a great way to kind of be like, especially if you're like, oh, Dana, I got to have Dana's way, and to learn that they are trained in my method and they are great at actually being there to help lead you through things. So declutteringcoaches.com/class lets you know if the classes are there. I believe on the page, it will say their time zone of the classes. I'm pretty sure it does. Go through and check, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it says the time zone of where the classes are, when the classes are held. I'm moving and have pricey collections like vintage albums, all the Beatles, collector books, silver, world arts, etc. I've done all the garage sales I can. How about an estate sale or doing it myself? Yeah, I mean, if you want to have an estate sale, call an estate sale company and let them, do that. There's pros and cons. The pro is that they do it for you. The con is that they take some of the money, but I'm like, take the money to do the work. Like an estate sale company earns their money, right? And obviously, go with somebody who someone personally who has used them to get recommendations. Let's see. Let's see. Could you schedule a podcast soon about having trouble finding places for things? Plenty of space, few good spaces. Yeah, I mean, well, so the short version of that answer is the best space for an item to be is the place where you would look for it first. Okay. If you are trying to come up with a good spot for something, that's how you get into the situation where you're like, I got organized and now I can't find anything. And that's not being organized. That's the opposite of being organized, right? It's also the thing that causes a lot of people like me to be like, well, that was not worth my time. It didn't work. Why did I do that? Right. So instead, to go with the place where I would look for it first. That is how you find a place for things, is by asking yourself, where would I look for it first? Okay. Let's see. It's laundry day, but I have a large pile of clean clothes from weeks ago that won't go away. Should I prioritize the laundry that's happening today or the pile? I think honestly, because folding straight out of the dryer is incredibly powerful, right? Like it is the thing. I resist it. You can do laundry day without folding straight out of the dryer. So like if that's the thing holding you back, go ahead and do laundry day and put it on your couch, whatever, right? But here's what I would tell you. On the next load that comes out of the dryer, time yourself folding it and putting it away. And it feels like, no, I need to just set it aside so I can get the next load going. That was my excuse always. But say for this one time, because the lady on the internet told me to, I am going to time myself and see, just to prove her wrong, because she can't know, how long it takes me to fold all these items and put them all away straight out of the dryer. See how long that takes. It's shockingly so much shorter than you would think, right? It's so worth it. And then, or now, while a load is still drying and washing, be working on the large pile of clean clothes. Like be working on that today and putting that stuff away as the laundry day is happening anyway. And then as new loads come out of the dryer, fold straight out of the dryer and put those away and then switch over. And I'm just telling you, it is so powerful. Let's see. Okay. Inherited a ton of stuff, stuffed it into one room when guests came, cannot get to the back of the room. How do I do this without taking everything out? So embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. I'm guaranteeing you that half the people here have experienced pretty much exactly what you're saying. Okay, so you are far from alone. Don't be embarrassed. The way to do this, because you just said, I can't get to the back of the room, which means it has way too much stuff that just needs to be decluttered, right? And because we know that stuff needs to leave the house, stuff needs to actually be gone, then with that mindset, whatever you can access, go through the process without pulling everything out. So there are piles to the point where I can't get to the back of the room. Okay. With the things that I can actually access right now, is there any trash? There's trash at the back of the pile. Yes, we got that. You can't get to that. Don't worry about that. What trash can I access here? What easy stuff that I already know what to do with it, and I can go ahead and take it to its home to get it out of here. What easy stuff can I access right here? Okay, what obvious donations can I access right here? You said I inherited a ton of stuff. You know you have way more stuff. A lot of things are going to need to be obvious donations. So go hard on the trash, go hard on the obvious donations, and just go through, and then it's going to be where you can get to more. Okay, so just the things that you can access. Yay, thank you so much. It does show the time zone right after the time. Let's see. Do you think anyone is too old to declutter? My in-laws are drowning in stuff. They ask for help, and when I help, mother-in-law says it's too hard and not worth it because they're too old, 70 years. Thoughts? I don't think anyone's too old to declutter. Possibly physically, obviously, that could be a challenge. Here's what I would say is follow my 5-step process. You can get that at aslobcomesclean.com/5, F-I-V-E. Follow the 5-step process and start with the trash, okay? And because trash, remember, is like, oh yeah, that's stuff I should have thrown away anyway, right? Like for her. So go through that, and it's going to be a lot less stressful. So many times the stress of decluttering is the pulling everything out, right? Is the thinking that that's how it has to be done. And so then I do all that, and then I'm like, I can't do this. I'm too old for this. I can't do this, right? So let's see. Pretty much all decluttered now, thanks to your brilliant advice. What are your favorite tips for maintaining a decluttered home? Thanks from the UK. Are you proud of me for not reading that with an accent? You should be proud of me because as soon as I saw that you in favorite, I knew, and I wanted to use my accent, but I didn't. Okay, pretty much all decluttered now, thanks to your brilliant advice. Okay, what are your favorite tips for maintaining? Do the dishes every day and do 5-minute pickups. Go hard on the 5-minute pickups. Make that the dishes and your 5-minute pickups. That's the way to start getting your home under control. And it is the way to maintain progress. Okay. And as you're doing that, as anything new comes in the house, in order to maintain a clutter-free home, anything new that comes in, where would you look for it first? Yes, it's a new thing that you've never looked for before, but you still ask that question. You take it there now and you get rid of something in order to create the space for that item. That's how you maintain it. Let's see. Clutter threshold. Can someone explain what a clutter threshold is? Because I must be new to this. Your clutter threshold is the amount of stuff that you personally can keep under control. It is not aesthetic. It is not your taste for how much stuff you like to have around. That has nothing to do with it. It's what can you handle? If your home is consistently getting out of control, you have clutter. You have more stuff than you can handle at your current phase of life, with your personality, how your brain works, all that. So the answer is to declutter. Get rid of more stuff. And then at some point, you will hit a point where you realize, oh, I can handle this. This is easy for me to maintain. That's the goal, is to get rid of stuff until you get your house down to the point where it's easy to maintain for you personally. Everybody's is different. Everybody within the family is different. Let's see. Let's see. My dad wants my help decluttering his place because he sees my improvements in my home thanks to your method. Yay. How can I help if he denies my method, aka yours, and stick to his that doesn't work? I mean, I would just tell him, I mean, like, here's the thing. Like I said before, don't explain the whole method. There's no reason to explain the whole method. But if he's saying, I want your help to declutter my place because I see the impact, I see that you've made all this progress, be like, okay, all right, well, here's what I've learned. Let's start with the trash. Okay, there's not much to argue with there. Even if he's like, no, I want to do this other thing, you don't need to explain the whole method. Just be like, let's start with the trash. And he's like, here's one thing, but that's it. That's all the trash. Okay, you move on to the next thing. Is there anything that you already know what to do with it? Here, I'll help you go do that thing. Is there anything that's an obvious donation? And then you get down into the this thing that he did not pick up as trash. Here's my string cheese wrapper from my little snack I had right before I came on, or before the interview that made me late coming on, whatever. Here's a string cheese wrapper. Okay, Dad, where would you look for this first? Well, that's trash. Oh, well, you didn't get it out of here in the trash step. So, okay. I mean, like, is everybody that sassy with their parents? I think we all are to a degree, right? But like, you go through the process, but you don't explain the process. Okay. Laundry day here too. Yay. I have tried so many times to be successful and get it all done in one day, but inevitably I get distracted or tired and don't get totally done. Any tips? Laundry day taking 2 days is not being successful. The point of laundry day is not, I mean, yes, ideally you want to get it all done in one day, but that's not the point. The point is having a finish line for laundry. So don't feel like you're not being successful if you don't get it all done in one day. It's fine. It's just that the new laundry is on next week's laundry day. Okay. Could you address people who would look for the thing where it is, no matter how annoying that spot is? I don't know what you mean. I'm sorry. Like, going with the instinct, even though you wish the instinct wasn't the instinct. Like you wish, I would look for this, and I don't know, but I would look for this earring that I took off to do an interview. I would look for this earring in the, hallway closet. And I wish that wasn't where I would put it. I wish that isn't where I would look for it, but it is where I would look for it. Go with it. Go with it, and then get your house decluttered that way and acknowledge the realities of your spaces. Once your house is under control, it's so much easier. You have the mental bandwidth to maybe change some places, but go with your instinct. Any tips to tackle an area of stuff that you have trouble figuring out how to distribute? Trash, donate, or keep. Remember, Kathy, that I don't have keep as it's nowhere in my process, right? Like that's not my process. My process is the 5-step decluttering process. You can get it at slobcomesclean.com/5. Sorry, I can't talk right now. It's also in Decluttering at the Speed of Life. It's also in Organizing for the Rest of Us. And it's here a lot on the thing. So that is the reason why I have this process, because I used to, tackle a space and be like, I don't know what to do with all this stuff now, right? So I have a trash bag. I have a donatable donate box. Otherwise, I go ahead and take it to its actual home. So I'm seeing, is there any space for it there, right? Let's see. Thanks, y'all, for sharing your ages and the work that you're doing. That makes me happy for y'all to be helping each other out like that. My dad hates the questions because he is convinced to declutter everything someday and rather stuff shuffling. I love your book titled Declutter the Speed of Life. He wants improvement right now. The best way to get improvement right now is to take it there now. I mean, like, and that's the thing too, is to remember that you are like, no. Where would you look for it first? I'm not going to argue with you. There's no right answer. Like wherever you would look for it first is great. And then taking it there now also proves and shows that I'm not trying to get you to not do things in the way that, you would function. Oh, I just did another one. How do you balance trying to be prepared for things coming in our world, but also stay below the clutter threshold? Can you be prepared for emergencies and still yet be clutter free, home free? Yes. And I have a podcast on that. It's here on YouTube. I'm not sure what it was called, but it was something where you'll know from the title what it was. But yeah, absolutely. Because here's the thing. We are not arbitrarily decluttering. There is no, in my process, I never tell you, you don't need to have such and such. That's not part of it because it's not helpful. Instead, I am telling you, I'm asking you the question, where would you look for this first? Take it there now. Acknowledge the reality of the space. If I try to keep more stuff than I have space, my home is going to be a disaster, which then ask anybody who's been through a disaster and their house had all this excess stuff, it makes it harder, right? And so, yes, all the same things still apply. And if it's important to you to have stuff for, emergency preparedness, then that deserves space in your home, but not space that makes it impossible to actually function and maintain and live in with the family that you have living the actual life that you have. Let's see. I have a problem. My donate and trash bags have to stay in my home until collected. Nowhere else to put them in a small apartment. No outside area. 15 bags to thrift. Charity so far have gone. Remember that because we don't have keep boxes, we don't have, we take things to their actual home. Those box, I know it's not perfect and I know it's frustrating, but the decisions have been made. Okay. And so none of us live in an ideal world. We just have to embrace the world we actually live in and the situation that you actually live in. So knowing that, yes, it's annoying that those boxes are sitting there until someone comes and picks them up. But at the same time, the decisions have been made. And so I have made that progress. Let's see. Hi, Dana. I've been doing laundry day for the past month and loving it. Do you also do sheets on your laundry day? That's the only thing I'm struggling with. Do you recommend a separate day? I don't do them on my regular day, but the reason I love laundry day is that the laundry, washer and dryer are open the other 6 days of the week, which means when I'm like, okay, I'm going to wash my sheets, then I'm not like, oh, I need to wash my sheets, but I've got so much other stuff that I really should do too. And then it just builds in my brain. Instead, it's always open. There we go. How do you approach a household with multiple clutter thresholds causing a lack of progress in decluttering? Remember that clutter threshold is what you can handle. It is not preference at all. It is what you can handle. Okay. So declutter common spaces down to the lowest common clutter threshold, meaning a fancy system that my family can't maintain is not a useful system. Okay, so I just need to have less stuff until everybody in there can do that. Okay, can handle it and manage. I just want to, let's see, I'm getting close to the end, so I'm going to do my little things I want to make sure you know about. Again, new book comes out 2 weeks from today. What? Y'all, I have worked on this book for 5 years. This book right here, Organizing for the Rest of Us, was in the middle of those 5 years, right? Like that's how long I've been working on this. It basically, yes, it dives into the spiritual side. My other 3 books do not have any spiritual content in them, and that is for a purpose. And I talk about what that purpose is in this book. But I do want to talk about the spiritual side of things because removing the shame associated with this issue is the thing that made a huge, huge impact for me in being able to move forward in my house. So this is the book that's coming out in 2 weeks. If you would like to claim the pre-order bonuses, aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus tells you how to do that. They are all digital. You get them now, except for the invitation to the Q&As that are after the book comes out. But you have to go and you have to register there. We do not know who pre-ordered the book. We don't know who bought the book unless you come in and you tell us at that link. Also, the other thing I want to make sure you know about is my decluttering coaches are hosting 6-week classes. 11 of them have agreed to host these classes for $50. They have access as a certified coach. They can teach this 6-week curriculum anytime they want, charge whatever they want for it, right? But for this promotion, they agreed to offer it for $50 to be included in this promotion, right? So these decluttering coaches are all trained and certified by me. They are listed at declutteringcoaches.com/class. You can see if there is one that's at a time that works well for you. Somebody earlier in the chat was saying that this is how they found their decluttering coach that they've been working with. So it's the beauty of it is it's a live class. You're learning these strategies and concepts from a live person who is there to answer your questions. You can get clarification. There's class discussion. And so it's another way for you to learn that has been highly effective for people. And I love my coaches. Like I love them. If you are not able to do a class, but you're interested in getting a coach, go to declutteringcoaches.com. They're listed there on my cute little map that I have. You can see if there's one in your area who can help you in person, or most of them also work virtually. So yeah. I think those are the main things, right, that I wanted to tell y'all. Yeah, I've got 2 more minutes. I can answer one more question if I see one. Let's see. How can I get a lot of decluttering done with all the normal household duties you have to do? Zero in on the most impactful household duties. This book right here is the one that will help you really identify which household duties are the most essential and will have the biggest impact. This is How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind. And that shockingly frees up time for decluttering, like really identifying which things. My house was never, and this is a lot of what this book goes into, my house was never a disaster because I wasn't trying. I was working very hard on my house and it just felt so never ending. And yeah, so this is the book that will help a lot with that. But anyway, y'all go order my pre-order my book because it comes out 2 weeks from today. What? I think there's 3 reviews from pre-readers on Goodreads and they're all good so far. So right? Because this is like my heart in a book right here. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. I will talk to y'all next week.